let's get started. Before that, do you have any questions before we start, guys? Okay. All right. So these are the docs that we need for from the borrower, or we will get this from the LO, and yeah. So this is before escrow. All right.
Lucy,
So yeah,
are you
uh,
going to share this folder with the rest of the juniors?
everyone. Yes,
Okay.
I will. Okay. So this is the checklist, guys. So let's start with. Can you see my screen clearly?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So there. This is for the W-2 purchase loan, guys. These are the documents that we need before escrow. So of course, the personal identification, the government issued IDs, it could be driver's or passport. We also need the social security number, and then the wet sign borrower authorization. And of course, the credit report, we need to send the payment link to the borrower or have the MLO send a payment link on their own. Does any one of you have questions regarding what these documents look like, or how to, get it so I could show you? All good?
Regarding the payment link,
Mhm.
the loan officers are the one who has that payment link. I don't have any payment link for you girls as processors.
Okay.
So make sure you guys have the LO send the payment link. I will confirm with GM Peter if they want you guys to have the payment link. Um, but right now I only set it up for the loan officers to do it. So for now, just make sure you get the wet signed credit card authorization for you girls to run it on your end from the LO, or have them send the payment link to the borrower so that way they will get the notification once it's ran. Okay, go ahead, Lucy.
Yeah, okay. Now, guys, I want you to be responsive because, our cameras are not open. So I'm not sure if you are getting it. And yeah, so just be responsive, okay? So let's say, for example, we don't have the social security number. What are we going to do with this one, Vivian?
So normally for the social security number, as I've observed most of the time, it's what do you call that on the application form with
Mhm.
yes but if not, sometimes the loan officers will gonna send us a document. Let's say the 1040, it contains the social security number, so just make
Mhm.
sure that you have that checked before asking with the loan officer.
Okay. Okay, good. So, guys, there are also other documents that might contain the social. So we could have that in W-2, or we could have that in the the tax identification, or yeah. So before, make sure that you be resourceful first before you ask the loan officer. Okay, but again, guys, we need to have this. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now, proof of income. So, of course, we need to have the last 2 years of the W-2 forms. We need to have their pay stubs. It needs to be the last 30 days. And, of course, the bank statements, we need the most recent 2 months. Now, let's say, for example, we only have the first month, or the last, let's say, today is December. We only have, October or November, let's say. What are you going to do with that, Joanna?
Hello.
Yep.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep. I can hear you.
Yeah. Regarding the bank statements, we need to get all the updated as much as possible. We have to get all the updated bank statements. We need the last 2 months on November and December. If
Mhm.
the November December is not currently available, we need at least the October September, I believe.
Yep. Now, there are some cases that, yeah, let's say it's December today and it's still December 20. Sometimes the bank statement is still not available, but make sure that you still put that on your checklist because it's still needed so that the MLO knows that once it's available, the borrower needs to send it over.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
Thank you so
perfect.
much.
So, guys, we need to make sure that we're checking the documents that we have, make sure it's complete. Okay, last 2 years, last 30 days, 2 months. Now, if it's incomplete, make sure to put it in your checklist. All right. And then asset documentation, of course, again, that's redundant, but yeah, it's part of the asset. We need the bank statements for the last 2 months, or we need to have their 1040s or personal tax returns. Again, most recent 2 years or the last 2 years, if they're business tax returns. So yeah, we would ask that. If they have any retirement funds, then we would ask that as well. And if they have any gifts, we would ask them again. So, guys, not everything is applicable for W-2. If it doesn't mean that if it's a W-2 purchase loan, we would have all of this. So we would know from the LO if they have gifts. They would usually tell you, right? So of course, if they have gifts, we need the gift letter. We need the documents for gifts, something like that. If they have retirement fund, you would know that they're using asset from their retirement. Then that's the time that it will be included. Did you get it?
Is it necessary to get like everything or just whatever element?
What is applicable with the loan? So this checklist is just to like an overview of what we actually need for each file. It depends on the type of loan. And yeah, later on we will still discuss another checklist, which is depending on their income. So that is very specific. So that is the one that you will get. Okay. Other questions? Is that did you get any, Shanice? I'm not sure if I made
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So employment verification, guys. We know that we need to send them the form, so we need the employer contact information all the time, and we need to get the recent job history. In Calix, we need, of course, the most recent 2 years. Now, if they stayed for the company for like 1 year and 2 months only, then we need the other 8 months. So where did they work? And we need that information from the LO. So if the LO does not know, then they need to get it from the borrower as well. And we also need that, contact information of the previous employment, because we also need to do a verbal verification for that. Okay.
For the
Questions with
for this
this?
one here, for the employment verification, if we have the pay stub or W-2s, before you reach out to get the employer contact information from the
Yes.
LO, make sure you guys do your due diligence, do
Mhm.
Google search, and call the phone, any phone number you find on their documents or Google before you reach out to the loan officer. Once you reach out to the loan officer, that's going to be the last resort for him to go ask the borrower, because we don't want the LO to keep asking the borrower all these questions. You can, if it's going to be your first request to the LO with all the documents that you are requesting, you can ask for him to get it, so that way it's at the beginning. And you can always just let him know, I'm going to do my search as well, but can you provide it just in case I have a hard time, if it's faster for us to reach one specific contact. But make sure you guys do your due diligence and do your search before you start asking questions to the LO, like, hey, where's this contact? Because it's part of your guys' job as a junior, as a processor, to reach out to the employers. Okay.
Okay. All right then. And then yeah, that's correct. We need to search first. Okay. And then for debt information, so if they have other properties that they own or mortgage, then we need the current mortgage statement and other statements, like if they have car loans, student loans, like that. And we would know from the LO definitely, or if they have the 1003, you could see that in there if they have other REOs or other liabilities.
If we have the credit report,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can see any on the credit report where it says if it's a mortgage,
Mhm.
you can send a screenshot to the LO saying, hey, on the credit report, there's 3 different mortgage accounts. Please make sure you provide all mortgage statements for it. And it's not necessarily always going to be a mortgage. It could also be a HELOC statement. So
Correct.
make sure if you see on where it says the type of loan, it'll say second lien or a HELOC or equity loan. If it says any of those, it's most likely going to be a HELOC or HE loan. And make sure you also ask for those statements from the LO.
Okay. Yes. All right. Questions regarding that? That's good. Okay. Now, these are some miscellaneous documents that we might need, but we can do this ourselves. So some of the letters of explanation, rent-free letter of explanation. If they are renting, then we might need rental history or divorce decree. Again, this depends on the loan, so you would know if you need that. Okay, because sometimes they are going through a divorce. That's why they're selling their house or refinancing, something like that. So yeah. And then down payment and closing documentation.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry.
Lucy. Also, if we can probably ask BK documents on the credit
Yes.
report, if it states that they have any bankruptcy, ask them for their bankruptcy documents.
Okay, bankruptcy documents. Yes.
BK, bankruptcy. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's something that can be also checked on the credit report. It'll show if they have any bankruptcy. You can ask for those documents ahead of time as well.
And here, so down payment and some closing documentation. So if they have any, down payment like that, or if this can be shown, of course, in the bank statements, if they have enough funds to close, the EMD, proof. So yeah. All right. So this, you can refer to this checklist, guys. These are the ones that we would need. So if you see while you are renaming the documents, you would see what are missing. You could ask questions, of course, to Brenda, Gia, or me if you have any questions. If you think something is missing like that, and let's try to find it first ourselves. Then if not, then we could go ahead and ask the loan officer. Okay. Questions? Good. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So pretty much the same, guys. What are in there, but of course it depends, because the other one is purchased and this one is refinanced. But these are also self-explanatory. It's almost the same in there. So of course the personal identification, proof of income, the asset documentation, the property information. Borrower owns any properties, of course. I mean, if this is a refinance, of course they own the property. So of course we would need the mortgage statement, their current homeowners insurance and the declaration page, their HOA statement if it's applicable, and of course the property tax bill.
On this one. So on a refinance, you want to get all of these documents on the subject property that we're doing the refinance, and also get all of these documents for any other properties that they might own. So if they own 3 or 4 different properties on top of our subject property, make sure you get all of these documents for all 5 properties. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yes? Okay. The property tax bill. There are some counties where you can do a Google search, the property tax collector, and get it and print it out yourself. So if they don't provide it, you can try to see if you can Google search it for their county. Like I think LA County and Riverside County. You can Google search the LA County tax collector, and you can search the property, and sometimes you can pull up their property tax bill, or at least the previous year's tax bill. Not all counties have it, and not all counties have it updated to where it's the current year, but if it's something where we might be able to get it from there as well. So also make sure you guys do that Google search as well on this one.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this one, as well as was previously discussed by Brenda. So loan statements, it could be HELOCs or and other statements and credit cards and any alimony or child support if that's applicable. So it's going to be the same with the previous one, the purchase one. Okay. And again, guys, we would know if they have any other liabilities from their credit report, okay, or in their 1003 or from the loan officer. Okay. So questions. Are we clear with W2 refinance?
Um,
Yep.
just a question. For
Mhm.
the HOA statement, if
Mhm.
the LO is not able to provide, is sometimes other HOAs maybe to log into HomeWise or to get the HOA statement.
Yeah. This is
No.
a yeah, because this is the
The
current
HOA
one.
statement has to come from
Mhm.
the borrower.
Yep.
Okay.
We can't necessarily go to like HomeWise and
Mhm.
request it.
Okay.
If they provide the HOA contact, maybe we can call the HOA directly and get
Mhm.
that from them, but it does have to come from the borrower. There's no portal where we can go in and get it ourselves.
Because they currently own this one. So Brenda, did we also like add the HOA contact information in Calix? Because before we were adding it, if we have
I don't think
for
we've
refinance.
ever I
Yeah.
don't think
Okay.
we've ever really necessarily added it.
Okay.
But for refinance, it might be useful to get it ahead of time because we will
Mhm.
most likely on an HOA or on a condo or a townhome, we'll have to order the HOA search. If it's a file that we previously worked on, we should have that HOA contact already. But if it's a file that we haven't worked on previously, it might be a good idea to ask from the LO to get it from the borrower ahead of time. Yes.
Mhm.
And then in regards to the information, sorry to kind of jump back a little bit. Make sure you guys are only asking for the statements if they're
Mhm.
going to pay off the accounts.
Mhm.
So if we're working on the loan and they're not paying off any car loans or they're not paying off any credit cards, don't ask for the statements. Only ask for it if we know that they're going to pay off the accounts closing. Okay.
Questions or clarification with that? Would see in their credit report. You would see in their credit report if it's going to be paid off or something like that.
So if it's going to be paid off, let's say if our debt to income, our DTI is too high and we have to restructure it to be paid off, that's when you're going to ask for it and tell the LO, hey, we need to pay off X, Y, and Z accounts for the DTI to work. Please provide these statements. Any other questions?
So just to clarify, we will initiate and asking the loan officer if the data is too high, that we can suggest, or we will
You can,
suggest.
yeah, it's a suggestion that we can when we structure the loan to pay off the credit cards for the DTI to work.
Okay.
Sometimes on a cash out, sometimes the loan officer will say, oh, I need to cash out because they're going to pay off their cards or their car loans or their student loans. Then obviously we know ahead of time that they're going to pay off something. Then that's when we're going to say, oh, please provide all the statements.
Okay.
Okay.
What if the statement is not yet available? Can we get, a letter coming from that agency or from that company stating that it has been paid off?
If it's been paid off already, we can usually do a credit supplement to show that it has zero balance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if for the most part, when we're requesting these statements, it's because we're going to pay them off at closing, and escrow needs these statements to send out the payments accordingly. Any other questions? No. Okay,
None?
Lucy, we can
Okay.
proceed.
All right. So this one is also for self-employed refinance. So again, we need the personal identification, proof of income, asset documentation, property information, debt information, and other miscellaneous documents. I'll just go fastly with this one, Brenda, because I think the other one is more specific. And then this one is self-employed borrower for home purchase. Again, we have the personal identification, proof of income, asset documentation, debt information, and the miscellaneous documents. Now, if we go here, guys, we also have this in our training. So these are the income type docs. So these are more specific. So if it's W2 or bank statement, in-laws. So guys, these are more specific. So I think you can use this so that you know that it's applicable for the loan. So here are the documents needed for self-employed borrowers. So again, the personal identification. We discussed this. The tax returns last 2 years. So personal tax return or the 1040 and Schedule C if they are self-employed. And if they're not available, then we could request the IRS transcripts. In here, for the IRS, I think you will request it, Brenda, right? For the
Yeah,
1040.
right now, usually I'm the one who's requesting these IRS
Mhm.
transcripts.
Mhm.
I would suggest that you ask the LO to provide the borrower provide the IRS transcripts
Yeah.
because they can provide it. They can get them quicker than we can. So when
Yeah.
I request it, it will take at least 7 to 10 days
Yeah.
for it to come back. So it does take longer when I request it. So just so that the file can get approved and proceed and get CTC,
Mhm.
we can request the bar provide the IRS transcripts. Usually they can get it downloaded on within the same day. Essentially, we would have to the company provide the tax transcripts to the underwriter. But for us to proceed, we can't provide the bar ones.
Right.
Okay.
And then the bank statements for the last 2 months, the business license or proof of self-employment. So yeah, they need to provide that. And then employment verification, this is optional if they have, clients or contractors like that to confirm steady income. And yeah, and then so this should be number 6. Any debt schedule if they have any business loans or debts, and again letter of explanation. This is us. But sometimes it's also coming from the we need to ask the loan officer what that large deposit is for, or we might need to ask some information from the borrower if you don't have it. Okay, so yeah, is there any questions for the self-employed borrowers? All good. Okay,
I have,
go ahead.
for number 4, for the business license and proof of self-employment, do we really need, or what's the alternative document that we will require proving that the business is active? Can we do a Google search on the
Um,
ABN?
Because usually
Yes.
for
Yes, you
okay.
can do a Google search. If it's a California business, if you go to the, let me see, I usually just type in California business search onto Google, and then you can search for the business, and then that business, here, can I share my screen so that way you guys
Yep,
kind of
yep.
see?
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't know that as well, Brenda. Sorry. Go ahead.
Let me see. Sorry, give me a sec. Hold on. Let me open it up.
While you're pulling up, Brenda, will that be sufficient with the conditions that will be sent by the underwriter?
So if you search, let's say, let me see. And so, for example, this one here, this
Mhm.
is the company that we have a file. The status shows active. If you click on it, well, first, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So when you click on it, see how up here the status shows active.
Mhm.
So you can print this. You can do the view history, and you can also download any statement of information for them. The initial filing here. So this company was created June of 2023.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can't, if it's an LLC or corporation, usually if you do the California search, it'll show up. When it comes to licensing, for example, self-employed like barbers, hair salons, nail stylists, any type of aesthetics where they require a specific license, then that we can't really necessarily get this. We do have to request it from the borrower. Usually it's like a specific license, like if it's a barber shop, they will have a barber certificate and it'll show when the license is good for. So usually when it comes to construction workers, sometimes they have a specific contractor's license that we can't Google search for it, and we would have to request it from the borrower.
Okay, Brenda, I just have a question regarding that. So will that be sufficient as well for like maybe this DSCR loans and other, that might require the business license or documentation?
Yeah.
The search. Wow. Okay,
Yes,
that's
like
great.
I said, it should be good for in terms of when that's showing that the business is active and how long they've been active for. So like I said, that company I just searched for has been active
Mhm.
since last year. So obviously we would need to provide proof of 2 years history. So maybe they switched from W-2 and they started their own business. I don't know.
Mhm.
Might be the case, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they just opened it, but they've been self-employed for the last 10 years, but they just created the LLC. It
Mhm.
just depends. But you can look, like I said, if it's a California business, you can do that search. I'm not sure if other states have that business license search,
Yeah.
but we can always just Google and see if it is there.
Okay.
Um,
That's great to know. Okay. Great question. Anything else? Okay.
you can proceed.
This is for WBOE. So documents needed for written verification employment only. So again, we need their personal identification, their bank statements, and written verification of employment. So we are giving this to them. So yeah, we just need them. You just need the contact information of the employer, or you need to call them to get their email address, and you send out the form. So make sure that it's all executed, all the fields are complete, and it's signed by the employer representative, HR, or manager. And then again, other documents, if applicable, and the letter of explanation. This is us. Okay. Questions? Good. Okay.
Make sure the written
Mhm.
verification of employment is completed thoroughly.
Mhm.
So if it, because on this one it's only the verification, so we're not requesting pay stubs, we're not requesting W-2s, we're
Mhm.
not requesting tax returns. It needs to be completed thoroughly from
Yeah.
HR or manager.
Mhm.
Some companies will not accept it if it's typed in, but for now, like at the submission, make sure it's completed however whether they type the information, whether they signed everything. But just note that sometimes an underwriter might come back and request it to be handwritten,
Mhm.
but it does have to be completed thoroughly.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, great. Now for fix and flip loans, so yeah, we need the personal identification, the property lease agreement for all rental properties that they own, and Of course, you might want to check as well if the property is not expired, or it's current, say from 2023 to 2024, but it's still current. You know what I mean? So there you go. And then if it's expired, then you might want to get the most recent one. And then proof of funds for the fix and flip, we need the last 3 months statement or bank statements. And then for the fix and flip business plan, this usually for fix and flip, of course, they would buy the property, they would renovate it, and then they would list it, or they might sell it. So it depends. So they will give you a renovation budget and a plan. This will be needed. Like Brenda, do we have like a template for this one for maybe an Excel sheet, what they need to put in breakdown and costs, something like that?
I'm not sure if I
Mm.
have a renovation budget. I think I do have the overview of acquisitions.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure if I have the renovation budget one.
Okay.
Usually, these fix and flip ones, it's with very few lenders that we do work with. I
Mm.
usually just ask them, and it's very few that I've personally worked on. So whenever something does come up, I usually just reach out to the AE and request copies or examples.
Okay.
And they're really good about providing it.
Okay, yeah, because usually for this type of like loans, the underwriter might ask for specific something like that. So yeah, it's good to know that we could ask the AE to give it to us. Yes, Joanna.
Yeah, Brenda, do we have a sample file for fix and flip loans? An existing or
Um,
ongoing file?
We might have an old file. I'm not too sure. It's been a while that I've worked on a fix and flip.
Mhm.
I can look for one and see if I do find one. Like I said, we do have it. It's just rare that we work
Very
on
few.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very few.
So, like I said, if like, I might have the overview of acquisition one. I'm not too sure if I have the budget, but like I said, if one were to come up, you can always reach out to the AE and get any example documents, or if they can provide, if they have a template. Usually they have templates, and then you can just copy it and then just input whatever information we get from the loan officer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just in case something comes up, at least we have a list that we could refer to, and if you have questions, you can always reach out to Brenda, Gia, or me. Okay. Any other questions? Fix and flip. All good. Okay. So DSCR loans. Again, we need their personal identification. We need the property lease agreement for all rental properties that they own. Proof of funds, a bank statement for the last this is also 3 months, I think. Yeah, Brenda, for DSCR loan, it's 3 months as well. Is that right?
I think it's 2
I think so.
months.
It's 2 months. Okay.
I think, yeah. It might be different per each lender.
Yeah.
But for the
it's-
most part,
uh-huh.
most of the loan types, it usually is 2 months.
Mhm. Okay.
So my standard is always request 2 months unless it's conditioned.
Okay.
There's sometimes it'll say, oh, just 1 month. I always request 2 months because you never know if the
Yeah.
file goes longer than necessary. We might need the updated statement. So
Yeah.
at least we always request it ahead of time.
Okay, and then their business license, guys. So again, we need the proof of business registration, and if they are operating as a business entity or LLC. Okay. Questions for DSCR loans? Okay. All right. And then for P&L verification. Oh, yes, Shanice. I can proceed. Okay. So P&L verification. So we need the personal identification. We also need the profit and loss statement, guys. So this one is very specific. So we need the CPA tax prepared the P&L covering the most recent 12 months period, and also the ET requires 24 months period for P&L, and then CPA letter verifying the percentage of the ownership of the business, self-employed for more than 2 years. CPA has prepared the borrower's tax returns for over 2 years, expense ratio percentage, and then CPA license number should be in there, and the CPA letterhead. Also for self-prepared P&L, if it's also available, but it's not a preferable product. So let me just erase this one. Sorry. Okay. And then, of course, the bank statements. I think this one it's 3 months, Brenda. I'm not entirely sure which one.
Yes,
Gia
usually
check this one.
P&L. Yeah, usually P&L does require 3 months.
3 months. Yeah.
Usually they require them to confirm that the P&L is reporting the money that is incoming into
Yeah.
their accounts, their business accounts.
And yeah, and then letter of explanation if needed. So this is ours. But if there are any discrepancies between the P&L and other documents that we see, then we might need to reach out to LO if there's any discrepancies that we see.
For the
And
bank statements,
Mhm.
sorry to cut you off. For
Sure.
the bank statements, make sure it's the business bank statements that are usually where the money is being
Yeah.
deposited into, but also request at least 2 months of their personal bank statements in case they need it for reserves, or usually I usually ask for the personal at least 2 months of it. Okay.
Okay.
And then the CPA letter again needs to have the percentage of ownership, self-employed for more than 2 years. I think it's redundant already with this one, so I'm just gonna erase this. Yep. So any questions with P&L verification?
Lucy?
Yep.
I would leave number
one.
5 and then delete the top one because
Okay.
it's a separate item. The CPL letter
Yeah.
is not part of the profit and loss. It's
Mhm.
separately. So we have to get the profit and loss, and we have to get the CPA letter.
All right. Questions? Okay. All right. And then for bank statement only documents that is needed for the mortgage. So we need the personal identification. We need the bank statements for the last 12 months. And then it's either personal or business. If personal, additional 2 months business bank statements might be required. And then letter of explanation. This is us. And then CPA letter. So yeah, additional,
When-
Brenda.
Yeah, so usually we do collect 12 months unless the loan officer specifies that they want to provide the 24 months. Great, go ahead and collect the 24 months. Usually we do collect 12 months only. Once you do collect the 12 months and have the received the renamed them, make sure you forward the bank statements and CC Gia, myself, and Lucy to Vivian requesting for income calculation. And then Vivian, you know the whole deal about requesting the bank statements income calculation.
And then for W-2 borrowers, we need the personal identification. We need the W-2 for the last 2 years. We need their pay stub, again, the recent 30 days. We need the bank statements for the last 2 months. Employment verification, we need the employer contact information, or we could search it on Google and try to call them to get their email address and send out the form before we reach out to the loan officer. And any other documents, if they have additional income or overtime commissions like that, they might or they can provide other supporting documents. Sometimes it will be in the form as well, or the verification of employment form that we send them. Sometimes it will, the manager or someone who is filling it out will include the bonuses and overtime in there. And then, yeah, child support or alimony if that's applicable, and the letter of explanation is ours. So any addition to this, Brenda?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
Pay stubs, I would say just always confirm it's the most recent pay stubs.
Are
Again,
available.
if they provide, let's say the pay stubs covering 1 month, make sure they are the most recent ones. But other than that, I think everything was good for.
And guys, just to addition, when we are receiving the documents, make sure that the copy is clear, it's not cut off, the pages are complete like that, so that because the underwriter will not accept it as well if it's unclear or the pages are cut off, you're missing the page 12, something like that. So let's just do a quick run through with the documents as well. Don't need to review it entirely, but just make sure that it's clear and complete. The ID should be recent, not expired, because sometimes they might send you the expired one. So you could check that as well. And if it's expired, then make sure to get the recent one, something like that. So yeah. Any other questions or clarifications? All good. Okay, so I think that's it for today, Brenda. I'm not sure when will Gia ask them to do this, but yeah.
I'm not sure when we'll be starting this
Mhm.
this transition. I'm gonna assume since we're kind of slow on new files, it's probably gonna start as soon as we get the new file assigned to someone. So make sure you guys save this in your favorites folders or wherever, so you guys can always go back to the checklist. So once you have all those checklist documents, then that's when you guys would forward an email to Gia, Lucy, and myself that this file is complete for the initial review. Okay. Now, obviously, that goes without as long as you guys get all the documents, you guys are updating our Calyx point as well. So make sure you guys get the documents and update the Calyx point before you forward the file over to us. Okay.
Okay.
I think that's about it. Do you guys have any questions? Make sure you guys let us know. If not, then happy
Oh
Friday.
yeah, I have a question before we end this meeting or training. I just wanted to know, Brenda, what if we have 3 borrowers for one property address and then they have different work, line of work? Are those documents applicable for only one borrower or hello?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. What if we have, for example, at least up to 3 borrowers for one property address or subject address? Do we need to get all the documents?
Yes, you need to get all of the documents for all the borrowers. So
I
if
see.
one subject property has 2, 3 borrowers, make sure you get all of these documents for all 3 borrowers. So
Yeah,
like
thank you.
the documents for the property, it's only going to be one, but the documents for their assets or their income, it's going to be 3
Yeah.
separate borrowers.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I
Already.
think that's about it. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you
Yeah,
guys for your
happy
time.
Friday.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you,
Brenda.
Brenda.
You're
Bye,
welcome.
everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.